Welcome. Today we are calling this one, it's going to be the Tech Baking Bonanza, whipping up digital delights. So if you've seen any of my posts in the past, you will see that I often talk about baking because I love to eat sweet stuff more than real food. So I don't say I'm a baker. I'm not a cook, I'm a baker. So what I like to do is make things fun and simple, as easy as eating a cake. Welcome to today's Tech Q&A with the topic of digital delights. So specifically, I'm talking about these things. Now, tell me, how many of these do you have lying around your desk? Sticky note, great idea. Sticky note, great idea. You've got them on the TV, you've got them on the cupboards, all around your computer. Sticky notes, sticky note mayhem. Let me know. Do you have them everywhere and anywhere, or where do you keep yours? So I used to have sticky notes everywhere. I had a folder. I had them all around my computer. And then I decided to do something different. So I wanted to show you my little notes over here. So we are going to go over here, and here we go. Tech Baking Bonanza. So back over here. Right, great. So welcome. We are talking about sticky notes and how can we get rid of that overwhelm of notes everywhere. So if you think about, if you're wanting to make a cake, love eating cake. Who loves eating cake? What's your favorite cake? I think mine would have to be chocolate with chocolate icing on top. So if you think about a cake, this is going to be my analogy. And when we want to make a cake or whatever sweet or food, if you're an awesome cook like I'm not, and you need to have ingredients, and if you're like me, you need a recipe. I have friends who can bake and cook. They just throw things in there and it turns out amazing. That's not me. But if you think about baking, if you know anything about baking, you kind of need to have a recipe because it has to be the right amount of everything or it doesn't turn out right. So the same can be said for business. We can be in business and we need to have the right ingredients. We need to have the right recipe. And one of those ingredients could be our sticky notes, even though they're all over the place. And they are a way that we quickly jot down an idea. So in the past, I used to have sticky notes everywhere. And then I discovered digital sticky notes. So tell me, who looks after their sticky notes in the digital form or who prefers paper? I love paper. I grew up on paper with books, and sticky notes seem to be my jam, but they kind of get lost. So how can we manage the mayhem of sticky notes and ideas and papers? Oh, love that too, Eddie. Yes, Nutella style cake. Very good choice. Nutella is pretty yum too. I don't know how to say that word though. Torta. Yeah, you have to type it phonetically for me so I know how to say that one. Yep, definitely paper. Yeah, you're like me. You're old school. Hey, Eddie. Love paper. So when we're in business, we can liken it to baking. We need to have those ingredients, and having the right journey is going to help us. This is going to be our crucial part. So digital and physical sticky notes can be this building block of ideas, tasks, reminders where we capture our ideas and organize our thoughts. So just as a recipe can guide us through our baking process, we can use an awesome tool, which I have talked about. If you're watching here on YouTube, I have talked about this in the past, and this one is called Trello. So Trello is one of my favorite digital organization tools that I like to use. And when I first started using it, I think it was just on my phone. A lot of the things that I've learned to use digital tools, I have started using on my phone. I used to work on a farm. We had chickens, we had clients ordering eggs and chickens, and so I would do a lot of things literally outside on the farm, in the yard on my phone, and it was quite convenient. But also now I have learned to use that on the computer since I'm not so much out in the farmyard with the chickens because we don't have chickens anymore. So Trello can be one of those tools that we can use to help us organize all of those ideas, we can create lists, we can put timelines on their reminders, and I have found that one to be a really helpful tool to help with mastering our note organization. So what about you? If you have ideas, do you put them in your phone? Are they on your computer? Are they on sticky notes all around your office, if you have an office? Or if you're like me, if we haven't met before, have you noticed my background? Hi, I'm Kristy. I am coming to you from this place. So this is our fifth wheel trailer. In past videos I've talked about, this is my window for my office, but I'm actually coming to you from this window today. So this is us when we're on the road. Obviously we're not on the road now, because if you can see out my window, which you'll be looking through this window here, I am in Florida. So it's a hot, sunny, it was sunny. Now it's going to start raining. But if you've ever been in Florida, you'll know the weather changes in 5 minutes. So fifth wheel trailer, small space office. So that's where I'm coming to you from today. Here's my window out this way. So, okay, Eddie has a notepad as well. Yep, notepad. So I used to have notepads, but I ended up collecting so much paper everywhere, and they would get lost and dusty, and then we'd move, or we'd go traveling, and we'd pack up and not take the trailer but travel somewhere else, that I needed to find a better solution. So that's where Trello came in for me. So what did I want to show you? I wanted to tell you a little bit more about my method, my recipe, my ingredients list. So one of them is, okay, you've got your phone, you've got an idea, you need to get that idea out of your head. If we try to keep it all in our mind, we're just going to forget them. So some people write on sticky notes. What I started doing is voice recording myself. So that would be one of my first ingredients. Is I will open up a voice recorder on my phone, and I will record my idea. I will just talk my idea out until I feel happy that it's enough that if I come back to it in a week, will I even know what I'm talking about? So talk through your idea. That can be one way to do that. And as I had mentioned, I learned about Trello, but I've recently discovered that you can then email something to your Trello board. So if you've heard of Trello, I like to think of it as it's your office supply of endless whiteboards and sticky notes. So each Trello board can be likened to a whiteboard that you can write on. Each card on those boards is like a sticky note. That will be the very simplest form of what I'll describe today. So if you have different projects that you're working on, say you can have a whiteboard of this idea and a whiteboard of that idea, and maybe you have a whiteboard for your home. I have a whiteboard now even for recipes. So you can have a whiteboard for different areas of where your mind's thinking at that time, whether it's home, business, or something like that. And then you've got your cards that can be moved around just as easily as a sticky note can be on paper. Yeah, Teresa, I agree. Voice recording is such a great idea. I never used to do it, but once I started, it was so helpful. Get those ideas out of your head, and then you've got room to think of new ideas. So what you can do then is, and let me know if you'd like a tutorial on this for the future. You could do a short mini video on how to do this. So you can email to your Trello board and have automations set up in the background that will land on a specific whiteboard as a new card or a new sticky note for you. And you can also set up, so you don't just want a bunch of ideas landing there and then you forget about them. You can set up a little quick automation to remind you. I have mine comes up every Monday. Every Monday I go through my ideas and maybe add some extra notes. I'll put a date on it that says, okay, this one, I need to start working on it here, or I have an end date it needs to be completed by. And I'm able to keep a track of my ideas that way. Now, once you have things within Trello, and you can have a look back at a previous YouTube video I did about my favorite 7 tech tools, and each sticky note, once it arrives there on your big whiteboard, can have extra notes as well. It can have a reminder date. You can even have a look at a calendar view if that suits you better. You can change the view of what that looks like. So you've got an idea, you voice record it on your phone, you email it to yourself, to your whiteboard, and once it lands there, then because maybe you're out and you've got that idea when you're out and about, but once you're back in your office, you can have dedicated time where you then strategize when you're going to finish that idea. And if you find that an idea just keeps getting put off and put off and put off, maybe it's something that you want to revisit again in 6 months, or maybe it was an idea that was awesome, but we didn't really need it today. So that could be something to keep an eye on too. So I'm going to have a look at my notes here of the things that I wanted to share with you. So you've got those ideas now in an organized way that you can find them easily. Another thing that I like about having a digital organizational tool is that you can put your whatever words you put in there. So keywords can make it really simple to search for them again later. When I was teaching kids online, I'd have an idea for a video I wanted to do, say, about tigers. So I could write a few notes about tigers, and whenever I then wanted to look for that one, okay, I'm ready to do that one, or where was that idea I had, and I can just search the word tiger and it would open to a list of anything that had that word tiger included in it. So that can be really helpful too. So we have our ideas in our Trello board, and this is part of our recipe and our ingredients to get that yummy cake at the end, which is going to be our organized business, getting all of those ideas out of our brain and into action. So also once you're in Trello as well, you can prioritize, you can put pretty colored labels. What I do like to, I won't go into too much about that, because what I prefer to help people understand is we don't need to make it complicated. A lot of tools have extra things and you can make it super complicated, but we don't need to do that. The basics are fine. We can have a place to store our ideas, a date to do it by, get your project done, and it's ready to go, rather than thinking of these long convoluted ideas that we end up getting lost in the whole process rather than the actual idea, getting that into action. So that was mainly what I was going to talk about today, was how to get those ideas from out of our head. This was our Whip Up Digital Delights. So we've got these ideas, get them into a place where we can action them again later. And then we can come back and put those ideas into action to really help the people that we're wanting to help with those ideas and get them out there. So I would love to know, if you have a digital organization tool, what do you prefer to use, or what have you found helpful? There are many digital organizational tools. Trello just happens to be my favorite, but if you already have one that works for you, or you've heard of another one that's been suggested and you think that might work for you, then try it. But I would suggest that you pick one and you stay with that for a few months. You don't want to be testing out different things at different times. Just like using an analogy my cousin taught me years ago, if you go into a perfume shop and you smell 3 different perfumes, anything after that, you can't smell it. It's too confused and you can't smell it all. Choose one, really test it. Know what was good about it and what wasn't. If there was more that wasn't good for you and you saw something that it had an idea that you really thought would help you better, then run with that one. But you need to test things for at least 2 to 3 months before you can really make that best decision on whether this works for your business or not. So a couple of questions I had sent in earlier. How do you manage the overwhelm of having too many? So having too many digital notes or sticky notes, again, was really just about organizing them and having a date that you can come back and revisit them and decide, is this a yes? Is this a later? Or is this just, it's never going to happen? So you could have once a month, you actually review and declutter your notes and really make that decision if it's a stay for now or a go forever. So that could be one. That's what I do. Every Monday I go through my list, but then once a month I do end up putting some things in the trash because I know they're just not going to happen. So that can be one way. Yeah, Teresa, I've heard of Notion as well. There's quite a few big names of those digital tools, and it really depends on who you're learning it from and what they're teaching you. So Notion is a very robust tool. It has a lot of extra features, such as even creating web pages that can be public, can be shared within you or your team, or even in public. So Notion is not just a digital organizational tool, but if you are learning to use a lot of its features, it can be very overwhelming if you've never used one before. So I like to suggest to people to try something simple first. Really get the hang of the flow of how it helps you and why it's going to save you time to have everything in one place before diving into maybe something that is more advanced. Maybe it was something that could be tried later. So yes, many tools to try. Try the minimal amount of what you need just now, rather than learning a whole big new tool and all of its functions before you need them. Because if you then decide, well, that wasn't the right tool for me, kind of lost a lot of time there. So that would be one of my suggestions there. So I have heard Notion is a good one. What are some effective ways to incorporate digital sticky notes or ideas, cards, into team collaboration? So a lot of these digital organization tools, such as Trello, Asana, and I guess even Notion, have ways that you can share to your team. And there's many other names of, I've already got like 3 different names that I've heard of. I won't mention all of them, but you can assign tasks to someone on your team. So maybe you have a virtual assistant, maybe you work together as a family, and you can assign tasks to different people, which can then give them a deadline and a date. And you know then that you've delegated that to someone else to be done by a certain amount of time. But you can also look back at it to know where are they up to. Maybe it's 50% done. Maybe the one task has mini tasks within it, and you can see where they're up to with that. So that can really help to have collaboration within your team. And that also helps with transparency and accountability as well. Okay, so that was a good question there. Yeah, if we find ourselves overwhelmed with a tool, maybe we need to just choose one part of it to focus on and really get used to using that before learning the extras that it has. Or maybe it's worth trying something different but if you've already spent enough time on a tool, you have quite a bit of information in there, just minimize and get back to the basics and give those a try first before learning the extras. Okay, what are the advantages of digital note-taking apps on our phones? Well, I grew up in the 90s and we didn't have phones. I didn't get a phone till I was, in my 20s, maybe 23, I can't remember. Life was not on a phone. But today, these are everywhere. They're in our pockets, they're in our homes, in our bag, in our car. So sometimes in this busy life, we're out and about and we get an idea then. So it's best to find a tool that can be used either. What I like about Trello is I can have it on my phone, but I can also access it on my tablet and also my computer. So it definitely makes sense to find a tool that you can use across all of your devices rather than, that was that thing over there on my phone. You don't want to be, again, getting back to almost the same thing with the sticky notes. I've got a sticky note here and a sticky note there. We don't want to be looking for things. That's a time waster. We want to make things simpler and in one place. So sharing space here today. So that was that idea there about it's a great idea to have an app on your phone, but that can also be accessed elsewhere, because at least then if you get that inspiration when you're standing in the grocery line or you're a passenger in the car or you're on a train going somewhere, you can quickly capture that idea, get it to where it needs to be so that you can access it again later. And so that can be easily integrated into your workflow, but not lost along the way. So those were some of the questions that came in as well. So it has been wonderful to catch up with you today. Hi there, nice to have you with us. And let me know if in the future you have some ideas that you'd like to learn about. If you're watching this on the replay later, I would love to know if you have something that you would like to learn for the next live. I'm going to go live every week on Mondays. And just to let you know, there's an excellent summit coming up that I'll be speaking at, more about tech tools. The summit runs from July 18 through 20. If you're catching this on the replay, it will also be available for purchase after. So you can always go to my website, teacherkristy.com/summit. Any of the tools I've talked about today, such as Trello, are also at teacherkristy.com/ whatever the name. So Trello, Trello, is also another tool that I like to use. So I am so happy that you could join me today with my tech baking bonanza. And we were talking about digital delights. So this is one of the things that I love to talk about and help people learn more about saving time by just doing things more efficiently. So Trello itself, Teresa, good question, does not have voice recording notes, but what I do is I take advantage of technology, I voice record on my phone, and I literally then email it to my Trello board, which I will show that. I think that would be a really helpful tutorial in the future of how easy it can be to email something directly to your Trello board. So it's like emailing it to your filing cabinet so you can come back to it later. So if you have any device that has voice recording capability and email, so voice recording, of course, doesn't need the internet, but an email does. So voice record on your phone, email it to your Trello board, and then you can access it on any device then that has the internet. So that's what that was about, Teresa. I hope that helps. Wonderful. Well, it was excellent spending some time with you today. It is the afternoon for me here in Florida, so I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining. See you.